Hi, I'm Michelle Esswein, and welcome to my show. Be sure to connect with me through social media. On Twitter at Esswein Show, on Facebook type in Michelle Esswein, or online go to iHeart.com and search Michelle Esswein to hear me anytime, anywhere, to find out what's going on in business, entrepreneurs, community, and much more. You can also email me at michelleesswein@iheartmedia.com. Dr. Tracy Wilen is a prominent thought leader on the impact of technology on society, work, and careers. She's been a scholar at Stanford University and has held leadership positions at HP, Apple, and Cisco Systems. Dr. Wilen is the author of 11 books, including her latest book, Employed for Life, 21st Century Career Trends, and she was also an adjunct professor for 15 years teaching business and women's topics. Welcome to my show, Dr. Tracy, and thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me, and Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you as well. I enjoy always talking with you because you seem to be on the cusps of the latest trends for people in the career field. And what I like to focus on my show is those trends and job opportunities and the latest thing that's out there for people and give them, kind of the tips of the trades that they might be looking for. And you've really come out with your top 5 big trends for 2016. And I'd like to talk to you a little bit about some of those today. Can you go through some of those trends that you're seeing, those top 5 for 2016?
Sure, Michelle. And, basically every year I try to look, listen to the news, look at the trends, read the job reports, and then come up with some predictions. So for 2016, I see 5. 1 is aging is big business. 2 is security is a safe bet. 3 is technology continues to trend and create jobs. 4 is blue-collared and skilled workers are still in high demand. And number 5, micropreneurs and microbusinesses are flourishing.
Let's go through each one of those step by step. First one, you talked about the aging population and the senior sensation. Talk to me a little bit about that and what you see is changing. I know we have a lot of boomerpreneurs out there right now. People are going back for their second and third career path, sometimes even more. But what are you seeing in that aging population right now?
Sure. So today, 1 in 3 Americans are over the age 50 or older. 2 is, that means there's over 100 million over 50 just living in the United States. And third is that aging is big business. Globally, it's a $7.1 trillion business. I think we automatically think about the people trying to get jobs in their 50s, but what I'm talking about is it's actually a market segment. The fact that we're aging, we have different kinds of needs. We have different kinds of services that we desire, and we have different things that we do with our time, and all of this creates jobs for many people of all age brackets. Just the fact that we are now a market segment, an older market segment, and that's a tipping point in the United States.
How will other services that will provide jobs are caused by us aging? Do you think there'll be more different services provided?
Yeah, so first if you think about it, we need places to live, and we may not stay in our homes, or we might stay in our homes. If we don't stay in our homes, then we might be going to adult communities. We might be going to assisted living communities, and we can already see the demand and the waiting list for these communities. That creates jobs for people because you have to construct these communities. You have to populate these communities with services. It's almost like running large hotels and condominium complexes. But if we decide that we're going to stay home, well, then we have to think about our homes and what kind of services do we want to bring into our homes. We're going to bring in landscapers, people to help us clean, people to help us cook. I mean, the reality is for people, as we get older, we have to start to rethink about services, and this is creating jobs for people.
Not so much them going back to work, but the services that the elderly will need.
That's right, and what we're doing with, for example, our time, right? So if you look at the AARP, the American Association of Retired Persons, as people leave the workforce, they have a lot more time on their hands, and a lot of retirees spend that time doing things that they wanted to do, but they couldn't do when they were working, such as traveling. And in fact, travel is expected to grow over 36% over the next 10 years, just driven by the fact that we're aging, and this is where we're spending our time. Well, that creates jobs, transportation jobs, airlines, buses, cruise liners, hospitality jobs, hotels, restaurants, tourism jobs, right? So just the fact that as we get older, we're reusing our time differently creates jobs for other people.
I noticed that they're leaning more towards pets. Do you see a trend with people having pets as they get older?
Exactly. It was always the millennials that have driven pet ownership, and now we have, our baby boomers. And, let me just mention the baby boomers are really reinventing retirement for future generations because it isn't the traditional retirement. And yes, they're getting pets. It's empty nest. Well, why not fill it with a lovely companion? And they are adopting pets or getting pets. And well, that creates jobs. You need vets. You need stores, to carry the food. You need groomers. You need people to walk your dogs, and you need house sitters. So all of this just creates an ecosystem of jobs and services created by just the fact that our baby boomers are owning more pets.
Now, I want to move to your second trend, which was security is a safe bet. Why do you say that?
And I just say watch the news. Right. Listen to the news, watch the news, read the papers. Every day you see a headline about security. And sadly, security, which is something we really have not had to grapple with before, is a safe bet. And the three areas is, counterterrorism, physical security and protection, and the third one is cybersecurity. And last year I talked a lot about cybersecurity, but it's growing 12 times faster than the overall job market. It's creating jobs just because we need ethical hackers. Whether it's your personal data or your network, we need to protect people's identity. And so this whole new area that we've never experienced before is now, unfortunately, creating a lot of jobs. But so is counterterrorism. I was just in New York, and they were mentioning there's creating counterterrorism squads. Now, there's police forces, but now there's also going to be counterterrorism squads. And I could see that replicating across many cities, both here and abroad. And it's a broad base of skill sets, people who can detonate bombs, to someone who can understand chemical warfare, to someone who understands data, to actually physical. And the physical aspect is, you just look at the football games, right? They're tripling up security. Both public sector and private sector are creating a lot of jobs in security. So all of this is something just created new in the United States by security.
What types of education would you say for those jobs that people will need? Terrorism is something that everybody's always concerned about. It's always on the forefront of people's minds these days. Is there certain education required for those types of jobs?
So actually, it will vary on what you're looking at, right? So physical security, which is growing to be almost a $25 billion business in 2016, does not require education. This is a segment where I think a lot of our military has been trained for. I've met a lot of military who have had an outstanding security training, not necessarily college skills, but different kinds of certifications or just basic training to keep places safe, people safe, and have been able to maneuver into different types of jobs in this whole, I view it as a horizontal category. So I don't think it necessarily requires a college education, although if you're interested in, more sophisticated, I guess, data analysis types of jobs, you might need some training there. So it's something where you look at it and say, where am I skilled, where's my experience, and where can I fit in? So just going back to the military, a colleague of mine who was in the military is now in security for power and gas. So he's been able to blend his security background from the military into a civilian job in protection.
Do you find also with the cybersecurity, there's a lot of concern for people's basic security? I've interviewed some folks on my show about the apps that are out there to protect not only your information that you have on your phone, but your bank accounts, even just a little bit more personal security versus corporate and the larger scale security.
Yes, and that will drive jobs, right? So after I talk, I've been on a couple of shows talking about security, I get inundated with calls from startups who say, Tracy, if you know people who want to work at a cybersecurity firm, we're looking for people. So yes, there's a concern about personal security, and because of that, it's driving jobs in software firms, in hardware firms, in a number of different categories of cybersecurity firms looking for people. So that's why it's sad that even though we haven't faced this before, at the end of it, their jobs get created to support this new demand.
Tracy, I have to take a quick break. We didn't get through your third, fourth, or fifth trends for 2016. Can you stick around with me a little bit longer? We can come back and talk about those last three trends.
Yes, thank you.
I have to take a quick break, but I'll be back with more in just a minute. You're listening to The Michelle Esswein Show. You may be familiar with several of the major holidays that happen each month throughout the year. But are you aware of the quirky holidays that are happening each month? I'm Michelle Esswein, and that's what's on this week's Business Buzz. While big traditional holidays may not come around every month, here are some non-traditional holidays and month-long celebrations to participate. Being that January is the start of a new year filled with resolutions, it's only appropriate for it to be recognized as Shape Up U.S. Month. This is a national movement dedicated to improving the health of children. February kicks off award season in Hollywood, with the Grammys held on February 15th. Grammy parties, in particular, are very popular. March 12th marks International Fanny Pack Day. While in April, you want an excuse to eat pizza? Well, you got it. April 5th is National Deep Dish Pizza Day. May is National Barbecue Month. And while enjoying that warm weather, June 23rd, people should take a selfie while running in honor of Runner's Selfie Day, a day dedicated to the art of selfies. We all scream for ice cream, do we not? Well, July is the National Ice Cream Month, and August is the month when we realize summer is almost over, which can bum people out. So lighten the in-office mood from August 1st through the 7th by celebrating National Clown Week. In September is Fall Hat Month, while October is National Popcorn Poppin' Month. On November 15th is America Recycles Day. Of course, Christmas gets a lot of attention in December, but there are a lot of holidays we can celebrate too. For example, December 7th is Letter Writing Day. This is the perfect opportunity to write someone a warm, heartfelt letter before the holidays. I'm Michelle Esswein, and that's what's on this week's Business Buzz. The Hispanic Chamber of Commerce is hosting its 2016 Job Fair on Wednesday, February 24th from 1 until 4 p.m. at the St. Louis City Center Hotel located at 400 South 14th Street in St. Louis. Connect with top local businesses and organizations to learn about job opportunities, advancing your education, networking, community outreach, and internships. This job fair is free and open to the public. For more information, go to hccstl.com. That's hccstl.com. Brought to you by this radio station and iHeartMedia Communities. Welcome back to my show. I'm Michelle Esswein. Today I'm speaking with Dr. Tracy Wilen, who is a prominent thought leader on the impact of technology on society, work, and careers. She's been a scholar at Stanford University and has held leadership positions at Apple, HP, and Cisco Systems. Not only has she had 11 books that she has written, she's also an adjunct professor for 15 years, and I'm talking to her today about the latest trends for 2016. Tracy, thank you for sticking around with me. We have already talked about your senior sensation, and we have also talked about the other trend, security, for 2016. I'd like to talk to you about the last three trends that you see for 2016, but I'd like to take them individually to go through what you think or see for that. And the next one you had mentioned to me is trending technology. Talk to me a little bit about that and what you see there.
Sure. So every year, technology is always going to promote for jobs, a place to look for jobs if you have the wherewithal and the interest in it and the capabilities, because technology will always change each year. And what I encourage people to do is think about what technologies are trending and get in at the ground level. So I have a lot of colleagues of mine who got in when mobile devices took off, or, my background is when networking took off, others when social media took off, because then you can learn this whole new category. So here are the three technologies that I look at for 2016 that are getting a lot of investment. Number one is artificial intelligence, which I can explain. Number two is immersive technologies, which I can explain. And number three is robotics and drones. So if you look at our artificial intelligence, this is we're in an era now where, this is all about computer science, giving machines the ability to be smart. Think about your Siri on your iPhone or, whatever device you're using, being able to not only talk back to you, but actually think, right? So artificial intelligence is just the fact that human machines are actually getting smarter and smarter. And this is creating a lot of jobs because it's not only on the computer side, but it's also people as we create products that are smarter, like cars or phones or other devices or smart homes. We need people to make the products, service the products, market the products, and sell the products. And so since there's so much investment going into artificial intelligence, that would be an area I'd look at.
As that is trending that way, I can also see that it's eliminating some types of jobs. So as you're having better technology and even that artificial intelligence that you're speaking about, and that's a growing trend, so you need people to focus on those jobs. At the same time, are we not losing jobs for the human side?
Right. So what I tell people is if you're observing that your job that you're doing today can be automated out of the system pretty much, by software or hardware, then you need to think about continuing to reskill yourself, broaden your skills and experience so that that doesn't happen to you. Case in point is, the ATM machine with a traditional bank teller. We still have bank tellers. They just do other things in addition to the ATM activity. Or the gas pump, right? Eliminating the job of the attendant who pumps the gas. There's still attendants there. They do other things. So that's what I think is important for people to look at and say, how can I, embrace technology and advance myself, whether I be a technology operator? So it's a very good point and concern.
What about the immersive technologies you had mentioned as the second one?
So, I'm sure people have heard about, augmented virtual reality and those whole goggles, and you can see them for playing games. There's also another aspect that people may not be aware about. It's esports, and there's actually a whole new category of sports coming out that actually we can watch people playing immersive games on YouTube or Twitch, and these people actually make money through subscriptions and endorsements. And so this is very appealing for these hardcore gamers who actually are creating like a cooking show and getting paid for playing games. Now this is growing into something called esports, where you actually have teams who play immersive games against each other, and people actually go to pay and watch it. So there's a lot of new things coming out of this whole immersive technology space, and all of this is generating money and jobs. I mean, I was just in Las Vegas, and they were telling me that esports will probably be the next wave of gambling, very appealing to millennials and the next future generations. All of these immersive technologies, so if you look at gaming, and then you look at all the new hardware that's being created through gaming and augmented virtual reality immersive technology. So if you get the Oculus now, which is now owned by Facebook, the goggles, you get the 3 and 4D television sets or consoles, or even if you just participate in gaming, you can actually make money by being an active gamer. So it's just a new space that's still in definition, that can be creating a number of jobs in a variety of areas. And that's why I tell people, look at these new areas, get in at the ground level and see where you could fit in, because then you could grow with them.
Okay, now the last one you mentioned within the technology area is the drones they're taking off, and you see those everywhere now. Before it was kind of an anomaly that if people had a drone, but now everybody can buy one. A lot of kids have them today.
That's right. So the expectation is that drones it will be about an $82 billion market, creating over 100,000 jobs over the next 10 years. And a lot of it is because they've gotten cheaper, they've gotten lighter, easier to fly, and there's many uses. I mean, they're not just fun games, although my nephew loves his new toy. But, they come with cameras now. You can use it for surveillance. You can use it for farming, disaster recovery. There's a variety of uses. So, again, it's creating a whole ecosystem of jobs. I mean, I think what everybody hears about is Amazon and how they want to use drones to be able to deliver packages faster in under 10 minutes. So there's a lot of applications that people are looking at to say, what can we do with drones? And the CES show actually earlier this month, I even had a drone that was carrying a person. So, this is, again, robotics, drones. This is another area that is expected to grow, and just watch this trend. And, we need people to pilot these drones. That doesn't require college education. It requires dexterity, someone who understands it. People to repair them, build them, right, market them, service them, and sell them. So, again, it's a new category, creating jobs.
There was actually a drone that could carry a person?
Yes. I didn't see it personally. I was reading about it, that they had at, CES show, the Consumer Electronics Show, is every January in Las Vegas. It's like a massive event of every kind of technology you can imagine. And that was one of the technologies promoted. I think people in general start to look at the traditional modes of where am I going to work, the big company, the job down the street. And I say rather, listen to the news, read the news, see where the trends are going and say, can I get in on that? I mean, so just for the example of drones, there's a business park that opened in North Dakota just dedicated to drone development, right? So that's where I would keep my eye on, is the emerging trends, not just the traditional things.
Do you find that there's any types of job fairs or career centers that focus on more of the latest trends? Do you notice if anybody's ahead of the game on those types of things? You had mentioned, obviously, watching the news and reading the news as an individual, but do you notice any types of companies focusing on helping folks find those?
Well, of course, there's career centers and coaches throughout the United States. I think the U.S. government is a little behind on identifying some of these trends and how to, articulate them into jobs. And that's why I try to put a light on this so people can understand that categories create jobs, not just about computers and engineers. Initially, a lot of this requires that, but then it expands. The Consumer Electronics Show is a great place just to see technology trends. But a lot of this is the media. The media picks up trends faster, I find, and just by watching your local news. But I watch shows like the Bloomberg technology shows. I watch a lot of these shows just to see what people are doing, where the next wave of startups are coming from, where the investments are going. And some of the big companies, they do have small centers inside their companies. So it's just really keeping your eyes open. I don't think there's going to be any one place that you can go and say, here's all the jobs. But there certainly are listed out there. I can find research centers that, sort of look at all of these different categories, but they're very focused on what they get funded on.
Well, you mentioned another area that's going to be a trend for 2016 as the blue-collared and the skilled workers. What are you seeing there as far as the trend, the higher paying, blue-collar jobs?
Sure. And, I think you have to remember that we're living in a digital world, but infrastructure, both in our homes and in our country, does not go away. And this requires people to work on it. So the projection is by 2017, there'll be an additional 2.5 million new middle-skilled jobs added to the workforce. So just think about it. We have our plumbers, we have our electricians, we have the people who fix our air conditioners. All of these jobs are still required in our homes. Now, they might become smart homes. We still have these requirements. On the higher paying jobs, actually in Forbes magazine did a very good article on some of the higher paying jobs, and it's all around infrastructure, roadways, refineries, subway systems, streetcar operators, oil and gas systems, boilers and furnaces, aircraft mechanics. All of these things require people, and some of these jobs are, $50K and up. So I think it's important, that if you're not pursuing college or certifications, but you're interested in the skilled labor, this is actually very viable career tracks, and people are actually making a lot of money with it, too.
I understand there's a show out there which is called Blue Collar Millionaires. It's about entrepreneurs that are making lots of money, large sums of money, without even a college degree.
Yeah, so a friend of mine who is on track to be a blue-collar millionaire turned me on to this show because he knew that I was very interested in Shark Tank, right, and the whole entrepreneurial and starting new things. But he said, Tracy, this is a very interesting show because a lot of people think of blue-collar workers as working for somebody else. What they don't think of them as being is business savvy and creating a lot of money. And basically his point was there's a lot of money in doing things that people need done that they don't want to do, everything from landscaping to roofing, to plumbing, to sanitation. And so basically his comment was, is this show, which he loves, shows you how to really grow a blue-collar skill into a business, into an enterprise, so that you can be a millionaire. And I think it's a fascinating aspect that I hadn't really thought about, because you just sort of think the plumber works for either for him or herself, but isn't creating an enterprise. And right here near me, my colleague just met one of the franchise owners of Got Junk. And Got Junk actually goes around and picks up people's junk that they don't want to dump. Well, she is a multi-millionaire and owns numbers of these franchises just because she bought into a franchise that nobody else wanted to do. Amazing.
I'm going to have to check out that show, The Blue Collar Millionaires. I find that very fascinating. I interviewed a couple of the sharks on my show, like Daymond John, for example, and he talked about how he's always surprised on the latest trends or the things that entrepreneurs will come out with or find a business in.
Yeah, because being an entrepreneur, starting a business is all about solving a problem that people need solved. And whether it's in your home or in your garden or on your roof or, somewhere, there are problems that need to be solved, and they don't always require a sophisticated, college background and engineering degree. Sometimes it's just explain knowledge, and that can make a lot of money, because if you have the problem, there's probably millions of other people in the United States who also have the same problem.
That leads us into your fifth and final trend for 2016 about being your own boss. Tell me a little bit about that.
Sure, and I think this is the trend that millennials are driving and embracing. A lot of the previous generations have always been focused on the large firm or public sector organizations, but the millennials are saying, I don't want to be on the salary treadmill. I want to work for myself. I want work-life balance. I really want to call my own shots. And now you can do that because we live in a digital world and have digital platforms. We can start on-demand jobs, just like Uber or Lyft, right? And that creates jobs for other people. Or Airbnb is just a platform allowing people to rent their rooms, and a lot of people who are retired actually do that. Or young people who have a spare room and need to cover the rent. But then you have platforms like Etsy, where I met a woman who's making a dynamite living off of her quilting, because now she has a place where she can promote and sell and market her quilt, which are actually quite beautiful. And then you have other platforms like Zazzle. I just went and got business cards done, and they do banners and different kinds of, any kind of item that, needs a logo or a service or marketing. And so you have to look at this whole idea that we have entrepreneurs and, micropreneurs, people actually just one person creating a living. And it's a good thing, because a lot of people actually do want to have that kind of lifestyle.
It's interesting that you mentioned the micropreneurs, and then the first trend that we talked about was the seniors, because there's even a trend for seniors to become entrepreneurs because they're looking for another career path or another way to make some income, whether they really need it or not, or just to stay active. People are living so much longer.
Yes, in fact, let me just give you 3 examples of people I met. I met a real estate agent who reinvented herself to be a real estate agent for retirees, right? And she's not a young woman. She's someone who understands that marketplace. I met a gentleman who's a financial planner, but he's reinvented himself to be a financial planner for retirees because it's age appropriate, right? It's an area he can move into. And then I met a gentleman who was a personal trainer in a very competitive city, Los Angeles, right? There's thousands of personal trainers, so he reinvented himself to be a personal trainer for people who have certain kinds of needs, like Parkinson's. And so, you look at that category and you say, what are my skills, experience, and expertise? Can I deliver a service or reinvent myself? Because let's face it, you can be appropriate for up to, into your 70s, servicing other people who are older.
You also mentioned about franchising. Tell me a little bit about that.
I think franchising is, one of those gems that a lot of people haven't looked at, but it's, if you're not creative like me and you can't think of a job to start, you can buy into something that's already there. And that's what franchising is about. It can be as low as the contribution of a couple of $100, depending on the kinds of franchise you look at, to, millions, right, if you're looking at taking over like a McDonald's. And so actually Entrepreneur Magazine comes out every January with all different categories of franchises. And some of the new ones that I spotted on the low end is like cruise planners, okay? It's a $2,000 investment to get into being part of Cruise Planners, right, franchise. And exactly what you were saying is to service the retirees. And you can become, right, and, marketing is helped for you, operations, but you still have your own business. Other ones that I saw that were really, on the rise is, again, servicing the aging, visiting angels, home watch. You may have seen some of the TV ads they have on. So they don't have to be expensive, but, again, and what they offer are visiting angels, home health aid, physical therapists, registered nurses, caregivers. So this whole new space in franchising. And, of course, I saw a lot for cleaners, a lot on both commercial and consumer cleaners. So there's a number of franchises, but they're a wide span. Health, food, fitness, beauty services, you name it. So if you can't think of a job, then maybe you want to buy into a franchise.
Dr. Tracy, I appreciate you taking the time with me today to share with us the top 5 trends for 2016. The information is always good and always right on target for everybody that's listening. Where can people find out more information about these trends?
Oh, thank you. They can come to my website, which is TracyWilen.com, TracyWilen.com. I'm on LinkedIn, and that's where I have my blog. I'm also on Facebook as Dr. Tracy Wilen, and my Twitter is @TracyWilen. So come visit me, and I'd love to hear from people and their stories.
What I'll do is I'll put your link up on my webpage, keyword Michelle, so if they missed any of this or want to check it out again, they'll know where to find you.
Thank you very much.
If you missed any of today's information, you can go to my webpage, keyword Michelle, or find me on social media, on Twitter @Esswein Show, or my Facebook page, Michelle Esswein, to find out more. Thank you very much for joining me, and I look forward to talking with you next week.